Hello, my name is Rodrigo, and today I will be talking to you about scaling yourself as a PM. This is part of a webinar series for the Product School Seattle chapter. And before I talk about the topic itself, I want to just present myself. So, as I said, I'm Rodrigo Papetti, and I'm a senior manager for product management technical at Amazon AWS services. And let's talk a little bit about my journey, my experience to get here today and talk to you. So I graduated back in Brazil in 2007 as a robotics engineer in a school called Escola Politécnica in São Paulo. And my first job after that was in an IT department in a bank called Itaú Unibanco. And in the bank, I did a lot of different things. I was a developer first for SAP and COBOL, IBM mainframe. Then I moved to program management and then product management. And then I moved from supply chain to risk optimization and managed a team of product managers, program managers. I did a lot of different things in the 6 years that I was in the bank. And in 2014, I decided to do something different, and I pursued my MBA at Ross School of Business, University of Michigan, for those who know. And I did my MBA from 2014 to 2016. And Ross is where I start my relationship with Amazon. In 2015, I was invited to do an internship, an MBA internship with Amazon. Did the internship, got my offer, came back, and in 2016, I started my career as a product manager technical for routing first. So when you see those big, beautiful vans getting to your door, part of it is the work that I did for routing for AMZL, Amazon Logistics, package selection. Then I moved to books, where I managed a group of product managers. And then finally, I moved to AWS to manage a group of product managers as well, but technical, that work with supply chain. And we make sure that all the data centers have enough servers. And when you are watching Netflix or when you are doing a transaction with Capital One, it goes smoothly and you don't even know all the things that are happening in the background. Okay, so that's enough about me. Let's talk a little bit more about scaling PMs, right? And now I have to tell you guys that I did not learn how to do that properly until I joined Amazon, and I had the opportunity to manage different teams with different backgrounds, very diverse, and learn about a lot of things that I'm going to talk to you guys today. To go through this journey, then I will talk first about why scaling yourself is important, right? And when you are managing a team or when you're leading a team, even if you don't have direct reports, then I'm going to talk a little bit about the beauty of delegating, right? This is one of the first things that we are going to use to scale ourselves. I'm going to move to enabling mechanisms. What are the mechanisms that will allow you to properly delegate? Then I will move to a concept called make yourself irrelevant, and I will wrap up with a summary. I will talk about key takeaways and what you should be getting out of this webinar today. So let's meet Liz. Liz is going to go through this journey with us, and she's going to help us understand a little bit more about it. Liz is a successful product manager. She has been managing products for quite a while. And because of all this success, she was promoted, and now she leads a group of product team. But interestingly, this new experience or this new job for Liz is not going well. Her team is complaining that there is a lack of focus. They don't know what to do. They cannot get anything done under Liz's leadership. They don't feel empowered. They are not learning. And what is happening here, right? Liz was very successful. Liz knows how to do product management. So why can't she make her team successful? Because Liz is not scaling herself. Liz is trying to do everything herself. Liz is not providing the mechanisms. Liz is not providing the proper guidance and support that her team needs to proper deliver. So if I'm going to summarize right now why it's so important to scale yourself, I would say that when you scale yourself, you do more in a better and a fast way. And it can be, as I'm presenting today, doing more for your team and making sure that your team is better and delivering in a fast way, or yourself. You can easily transfer all the mechanisms that I'm going to talk about today to your own experiences, even if you're a product manager and you're not leading a team right now. Okay, so let's talk about the beauty of delegating. People assume that delegating is assigning working to your team. Well, are they wrong? I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that they are wrong. Would I say that they are right? No, they are not right, because delegating is not only assigning work, it's much more than that. So, what is it? The first thing is delegating is prioritizing. Delegating is sitting with your team or yourself and think about what are the important things that you want to do, right? Which ones are going to deliver or more value to you or to the company or to the org or to your customer, right? Which ones you can leave for later, and why? What is the reason? If you know that, your time management will become better. If you are a manager for a product management team, you need to make sure that you're providing guidance and support. You are not just giving or assigning tasks to your team or projects, but you are there for your team. Your team can count on you to understand how to disambiguate a problem, right? How to escalate or help with an escalation whenever needed. So you need to be there for your team when you delegate, to provide guidance when they need guidance and support when they need support. And here, there is a trap or a fine line, let's say, of micromanaging, right? You want to make sure and that your team is in control. Your product managers are in control. You are providing guidance and support, following their signals and not when you think you should be doing that. And finally, you should focus on speed. Of course, you want your customers to have the products as soon as possible, but you also have to think about quality, right? If you just deliver something that is not useful or is half baked, the experience for your customer is not going to be good, and your team will feel worse, will feel demoralized because the product that you guys delivered actually is not useful. Liz is not doing any of this right now. Liz is not helping her team prioritizing. Liz is not providing guidance and support. Liz is not focusing on speed. Liz is trying to do everything herself, which is very common. When you are a very good product manager, or when you are a very good anything at what you do, your tendency or your idea is to, okay, I can scale by just doing this or teaching my team by example. This is not enough because you are one person. You cannot do the job of 10. And that's when people think they don't have power. They're not empowered. Or that's when people think that they cannot get anything done because you are trying to take so many things at the same time. That's what Liz is doing right now. So the first thing Liz needs to do is properly delegate. Okay, sounds easy, right? But how? How can I do that? There are some things that you can use to properly delegate. The first one is tenets, right? Tenets are very important. Tenets are ground rules that are established to your team so they know what to do without the need to check with you every single time. For example, you are delivering a product and you might have a tenet for your team, like we always put the customer experience in front of revenue. So your team now knows that if they are in a meeting and at some point they have in front of them a decision of, should I go for a feature that will bring more revenue or should I go for a feature that will deliver a better customer experience, they should go with the customer experience feature. They don't need to check with you. They don't need to ask you every single time. So tenets are a great way to establish the first line of defense or to establish the first boundaries you would like your team to follow. And then they don't need to talk to you every single time. You are scaling yourself right now. Okay, what else? What else can you do? The second thing you can do is the usage of metrics. Metrics are really important. The first thing that they do is they help your team to focus, right, on the product features that are important, right? If you have a product and you want to tell your team what is important about that product, tell your team which metrics you feel are important, right? When they focus on those metrics and on driving those metrics to a better place, they will naturally be focusing on features or products or new ideas tied to that. So just telling your team, these are the metrics you should be following or you should be focusing for this product goes a long way. And also tracking these metrics, provide guidance. When you sit with your team and you go through the metric and you understand why the metric is going in the right direction or the wrong direction, and you dive deep, you talk to your team, you provide guidance, right? Because your team understand what are the next steps. So establishing metrics and tracking these metrics with a defined frequency with your team is also very important. It can be weekly, monthly, it can depend on the metric, right? Then you as the leader need to decide. You need to sit down with your team and you need to understand what is the right way to do. It depends on the product, it depends on the team, it depends on the goals, and so on. Okay, what else? What else can I use to help my team or myself? Standards, frameworks. When you give your team frameworks, you standardize the work across all the different PMs. So if all the PMs use the same mechanisms or frameworks as I am mentioning here to scale themselves or to do their work, now you're scaling the team because everybody understands quickly and by repetition, they learn quickly what they should be doing, right? One example, I love to talk about a mechanism called a two-way door. A two-way door is if I go with something, if I implement something, if I launch something, do I have a plan to walk back or to fix issues really fast, right? Meaning, is it a two-way door decision that I'm making? If it is, go ahead, make the decision. You don't need all the data or you don't need all the information. Just launch your product, just launch your feature, and track the results, right? And if something goes really bad, scale back or roll back. Pareto is another example, right? Tell your team when they are trying to prioritize what they need to do to try to find those 20% of features that will deliver 80% of value. That's a great way to prioritize. That's a framework that you can use to prioritize your job. Providing these mechanisms to your team, tell them how to use them, and then track against these mechanisms is also a great way to scale yourself. Now your team doesn't need you. They don't need you to make a decision. They can think about two-way doors themselves. They can create two-way doors plans and move forward without you need to approve every single time. So when you use these simple mechanisms, right? When you define tenants, when you tell your team which metrics you would like to be tracking, and that will help you to provide guidance, and when you establish frameworks that your team can use, templates that standardize the work across the PMs, you make their life easier, you make your life easier, you have more time for yourself, and you have also more time to focus on things that your team cannot do. Okay, so now for the last part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about tracking whether you are successful. How do you know whether you actually scaled yourself? How do you know that you did a good job and now your team can operate at scale without your intervention all the time? I love this concept of thinking about irrelevancy and thinking about whether you made yourself irrelevant for your team. Did you put yourself out of a job? That's another way to think about it. When your team can fully function without you, when your team is making decisions, when they are feeling empowered, when they are looking just for guidance, almost never. When you can go on vacation and they are not going to call you 25 times per day because they have problems and they need your help, it means that you made yourself relevant or you were very successful at scaling yourself. Does it mean that you should quit? No, not necessarily. No. This means that now you can focus on other things that your team cannot. You can focus on strategy. You can focus on the next big thing for you, for your team, for the company. You can move yourself up to a different level without impact. Your team is happy, your team is working, your team feel empowered, your team is learning because they are doing instead of just following everything that you want them to execute. And you are now scaled. So if Liz, our friend from the beginning of this presentation, is able to put herself out of a job or to make herself irrelevant by following some of the mechanisms that I just described throughout my presentation, she will be successful. She knows she's successful and she knows she's ready to take over other important products or other important challenges in the company or even outside of the company. Okay, so key takeaways. What I would like you to think, or what I would like you to have as a result of my presentation today in your mind, right? First, when you do not scale yourself, you and your team will suffer. You will micromanage. Your team will not learn. Your team will not feel empowered. You will see a higher turnover, people leaving all the time. And you're not doing any benefit to you or to your team. That's why it's so important to scale yourself. Two, how do you scale yourself? Delegate, provide mechanisms to your team, guide your team, and track results. And if results are not going in the right direction, pivot and help your person to pivot. But you should remember the product manager should always be in control, in the driver's seat. You are in the passenger seat, you are just helping this person, but you are not the driver. And finally, how do you know when you did it properly? When you made yourself irrelevant, when you can go on vacation, when your team is operating at a level without you intervening every single time. And I would like to close this presentation with a quote from David Dunham that I really like, which tells us that efficiency is intelligent laziness. So be lazy by being intelligent and then be efficient. Okay, I just would like to thank you all for hearing to what I had to say. I would like to thank you, Product School, for the opportunity to talk to you guys and share a little bit of the knowledge that I've been accumulating along my career as a product manager and as a manager of product managers. My LinkedIn is at the bottom. If you have any questions, please connect. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear what are your thoughts about what I said. Anything positive or anything that is an opportunity to make this presentation better is welcome. Thank you so much again, and take care. Talk to you.